Alright, y'all, so we are taking straight oats from our local feed store, and we are soaking them. We're going to fill it all the way up to over top of the grains to make sure they are all underwater. And we're going to let that sit for 24 hours. And then we're going to get to it after 24 hours. It's soaked up most of the water, and we're going to start putting that into our pot. We're just using like a outdoor turkey fryer pot. You can use a stock pot, and we're going to take these grains however much you need for how many jars you're doing, and we are going to simmer them. So we're going to add these in and then add water on top of those and turn up the heat. We're going to do this for about 15 minutes or so. You don't want to go too long with it because then the greens can end up kind of mushy and nobody needs any of that. So now that we've got our grain in there, we're going to pop the lid back on there because I'll feed it to the pigs. We're going to add all the water in. There is a little bit of corn in here because we get it from our local feed store, and it is all locally co-op grown, so sometimes they get mixed in. So we're going to sit there and let that simmer. You don't want it to go to a full boil because then it's just going to process too quickly. But after that, you're going to just stir it, make sure none of it gets burnt in the bottom of the pot, and we're going to move on to straining it. So straining it out, I did this into a much smaller pot just because it's what I had laying there, but I'm going to dump that out and be able to strain it back into the larger pot so that it can sit. You don't want it to have a lot of extra moisture, so we're going to let that sit for an hour, and then after that you're able to put it into a pot, and we are going to fill up our jars. So for this batch, I could only do 6 jars because I only have 6 of the specialty lids, and you're going to want to fill them up about 3/4 of the way. I overfilled a little bit this round, and the reason you don't want to overfill is you don't have much room inside the jar to shake it once the mycelium has started so that it can colonize a little bit more evenly. So this batch is going to be a little bit of a touch and go for when we get to that part because I kind of overfilled most of these jars. But as you fill them, you're going to want to kind of tap them, make sure the grain kind of sits down in there into almost like a packed down bit, because the mycelium is going to need to grow all in there. These are the specialty lids, so they have the filters on 2 of the holes, and then the other is for the injection port. These are self-healing injection ports so that it can stay sterile inside. Now you're going to want to get your pressure canner, and of course this is brand new to us, so I'm just unpacking it and putting it together. Part of this, after I unpack it, you have to go in and wash it and all of that stuff, but I'm not going to bother showing you guys all that. Just kind of unpacking it, getting all the pieces together, and making sure that you are using it per the instructions so that you do not void the warranty. Part of the instructions on here is that it is not to be used on an outside boiler like I did for boiling the grains, simmering the grains. So we had to take it inside, and I am just adding aluminum foil on top of the jars here so that when the pressure rises and there's water, there's likely going to be a good amount of water bubbling in here, and you don't really want the top of your lids to get super wet. I took one of the jars out so that I could add the amount of water recommended for the time that we're doing. We're going to pressurize at 15 pounds for 90 minutes, and it suggests to use 3 quarts of water. After that's done, you're going to cool it down so that you can use the jars. This is about 12 hours afterwards, so the jars are fully cooled down. There's no risk of any of the grain being too hot that would kill the mycelium or the liquid culture. You're just going to pop those aluminum lids off like that and take the injection needle and put it into the jar's injection port. And I have 5 different mushroom liquid cultures, and these will do about 10 jars each if you're only using 1 cc of liquid culture. Some people use 2, some people use more, but I'm using about 1.5. So these guys will do about 9 to 10 jars each, and I did 1 of each of the mushroom liquid cultures I have, and then I also did a second one of the lion's mane. And again, you just want to keep everything as sterile as possible. And when I do the second lion's mane jar, I am keeping it sterile by using a lighter to sterilize the needle again, because I'm using the same needle over and over attached to the liquid culture. And you're also going to want to shake these a little bit to get some of that liquid to get further down. And that's why I said I kind of overfilled these, because that liquid culture is not going to reach the bottom. And so I'm going to have to do a ton of shaking after the fact so that I can get the entire jars fully colonized to move on to the second part of this. So once we're done shaking, we're finished. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will leave a link to everything we used and where we buy our liquid culture in the description below. If you want to check out more videos on us doing this and updates on this, please subscribe and like the video. Thanks.